money.
Here we go. Money talk.
Here comes the money. Money, money, money.
Dollar, dollar. Dollar, dollar.
Hello and welcome to my group's first AP tutorial. I am your host, Michael. Oh my god. Just kidding. My name is Miguel Carrion, but you can just call me TC for short because it's my IGN in various games now. I'm actually looking for a title for this tutorial, and you know what? I came up with the name ETC, which just basically stands for Economics with TC. Does that sound good? It does to me. Well, let's just go with it anyway. Consensus will occur later. Now, for our first episode for my AP group, we will discuss the circular flow of goods and services. Now, just to give you an idea of what... Oh, I just can't say it again. It's just too long. Let's just call it CFGS for circular flow of goods and services. Now, just to give you an idea of what CFGS is, just imagine every day you go to the tapper rice lady. Now, you want the tapper rice, of course, and it's just 45 pesos. You pay for such product, and they give you the product. Now, how do you think do they produce another tapper rice? Look no further. It's basically the money that you gave them. Now, it's accumulated because you're not the only customer. These are the resources that they use to be able to produce another batch of tapper rice. Now, hopefully, it's a clear form. It's a clear example, but I don't think so. That's why I have to explain it out on time. Shut up, TC. Basically, the circular flow of goods and services is just how products such as goods and services and money circulate around the economy. So the term money is what makes the world go round is actually a true statement in this lesson. Now, CFGS is basically an economic activity that requires these four factors: production, consumption, employment, and income generation. Production is basically the creation of goods and services for satisfying needs and wants. Consumption is buying and using goods and services for the satisfaction of our needs and wants. The employment factor is the use of economic resources to produce goods and services, or basically the factors of production. And our fourth factor is the income generation, which is basically the receipts of payment or the payment after using the factors of production. Again, the four factors that must be present in order for CFGS to be considered an economic activity are production, consumption, employment, and income generation. Now, before we actually start discussing CFGS and its various forms, we must mention some terms which will give you a better understanding of what I'm actually discussing and explaining. Now, the first term is inflow, which is basically money received after producing goods and services. Or basically, this is when money is within the CFGS. It's just circulating from one person to another. But what if you take the money away from the CFGS? Now, this act is called the outflow, or money spent due to expenses. And then you must consider these elements of the economy: households and business firms. The households are basically the entities that provide land, labor, and capital. Business firms are the ones that produce goods and services. Now that we have all that out of the way, we must now present the first form of CFGS, and that is the simple flow of goods and services. Now, what happens in the simple flow of goods and services? For a business firm to actually produce goods and services, they need the resources. Now, where else can you get resources but from the household, who provides the factors of production? Now, in order for them to conduct such a transaction, they must meet in a place which we call the resource market. This is to allow the exchange of the business firm and the households. I'm sorry if I'm being a dumb, by the way. Basically, this is where the business firms meet up with the households so that the business firms will pay the households for the households to provide the resource, the factors of production. Now, when the business firm actually has a product or service ready, they will sell the product and service at a place which we call a product market. Now, whom do they sell these products? Basically, they sell it to the households, the same people who provided the resources. Again, this is the first form of CFGS. This is the simple flow of goods and services, which is, by the way, considered a clockwise movement. We move on to the second form of CFGS, and this is the flow of income in the circular flow of goods and services. Now, this is the time when business firms must now pay the households in the resource market yet again via rent, wage, interest, and profit for the corresponding factors of production. Now, the households then receive profit in this resource market. Now, in the other way around, when we go to the product market, when the households buy products from the firms, this is when the business firms in turn receive an income in the product market. Again, business firms, when they pay the households, this is a profit. Other way around, in the product market, when the households pay the business firms, this is what you call income. Again, this is the second form of CFGS. This is the flow of income in the circular flow of goods and services. My God, that's a tongue twister. By the way, this is a counterclockwise movement in comparison to the first form. Now, we move on to the third form, which is the flow of savings and investments in the circular flow of goods and services. Now, what happens, my friend, when households or business firms decide to not spend their money, but to just save it? They're just going to store it in a bank, in a financial institution. Now, for a household, when they store money, this is what you call a saving. Now, as I've said a while ago, households and business firms tend to go to financial institutions more often than not to store their money because they are the safest place to keep savings. Now, mind you, savings are considered an outflow because this is money not in use. Remember, you're storing it, you're not letting other people touch it. Now, what happens if a particular household, what happens if money is not used for a long while? Then these financial institutions have the right to loan this money to various business firms, which is considered an investment. Just think about it. Money that's not used by a household given to someone who is going to use it. You're basically putting money back in the CFGS. To clarify things, savings are outflows. Investments are inflows. This is, yet again, the third form of CFGS, the flow of savings and investments in the circular flow of goods and services. Now, another form. What happens if the government finally shows up? What happens if the government collects taxes and provide transfer payments and even subsidies? Well, this is basically the fifth, or is this the fourth? Let me check my notes here. That's 1, 2, 3. This is the fourth. This is the fourth form of CFGS. This is the government and the circular flow of goods and services. Now, why is it the government has to intervene? Why must they provide transfer payment? Why must they collect taxes from people? And why must they provide aids in the form of subsidies to various business firms? This is because the government's job is to maintain equilibrium. They must maintain balance because there just can't be too much outflows, there just can't be too much inflow. Someone has to be the head honcho now, right? I mean, just look at me, I'm the one doing this right now. I'm the one doing this right now! Now, going back to reality, taxes are considered outflows because remember, they're collecting money from the people. They're taking that money to be used for their products. Now, transfer payments and subsidies, on the other hand, are considered inflows because you are giving the money back to the people, either literally or figuratively. Again, this is the fourth form of CFGS. The government and the circular flow of goods and services. This is getting complicated now, isn't it? Because what happens if a foreign market finally introduces itself to our country? Now, when it comes to the foreign market, the elements of our economy interact in various forms. Namely, households. They go to other countries for work. governments go to other countries to sell their country's products, to share the country's cultures. Just like well, I'm not sure if it actually succeeded. Just look at the 2010 or 2012 motto of Pinoy. Well, I forgot. It's more fun in the Philippines. There we go. Except traffic. And then, so there we go again. Households go for work, governments to share the culture. Business firms go to the foreign market to export their goods, to expand their business. And now these three, households going to work, governments sharing the culture, showing the country's products, and business firms exporting their goods, these are considered outflows. The only time when an inflow occurs is when countries, the foreign countries specifically, pay dollars to households, governments, and business firms in the foreign market. Now, this is considered an inflow because money is injected yet again to our country. Now, this, 1, 2, 3, 4. This form of CFGS is the foreign sector in the circular flow of goods and services. This is the fifth and last form of CFGS. Now, notice how it just gets bigger. From simple business transactions between two entities, we injected the banks to maintain inflows and outflows, and then we get the government to intervene to maintain proper inflow and outflow, and well, infrastructure wise, manage the economy. Of course, government's job is important, except and well, the foreign markets, well, it's a given. They're gonna expand their businesses. Might as well just do it with another country, right? Because if you just fool in one country, why not go to another country? So there you have it, CFGS. The first one is the simple flow of goods and services. The second, the flow of income in the circular flow of goods and services. The third, the flow of savings and investments in the circular flow of goods and services. And then the fourth, the government in the circular flow of goods and services. And the fifth, the foreign sector in the circular flow of goods and services. It's a never-ending cycle. But my friends, that's basically reality. Things that happen around you. Just look around. With the value activity, by the way, just look around you. Everything is actually more complex than it seems. Just look at your watch right now. It takes numerous gears just for the hands to function properly so that it's up to date. Haha, no pun intended. In school, it's important for the teachers and students to have a connection for something to really occur despite the tedious process. In our world today, basically, gentlemen, it is a tedious process all the way. There is nothing easy. Now, as a citizen, really, just do your job. Pay your taxes. Don't steal from anyone. Don't steal from the government. Don't steal from your neighbor. And don't steal from me. Of course, I'm homeless right now. That's why I'm using low-tech gadgets. But you get what I mean? If we want something to happen, you really have to work hard for it. No matter how tedious, no matter how tenacious, no matter how complex. Now, basically that's it for this episode. I'm just gonna give you back to my partners right now. Again, if you want to go back to any lessons that you didn't understand, just, there's a scroll down there. Anyways, cheers friends. Hope you have a good one.
That's it for today. Thank you for watching our tutorial video. If you like the video, please click the like button down below and subscribe to see more videos similar to this one. Thank you and pass it on.
Ching, bling, bling, cut the chatter. You ain't talking money, then your talking don't matter. Ching, ching, bling, bling, patent pockets. Take the dollar, can a damn soul stop it? Here comes the new kid on the block. Hold on your bets, here's where the buck stops. See, first of all, I'm stepping out on my own. About time I